Hello, welcome back to another edition of the Jamie Files. I want to give you an example of a synchronicity that happened in my life because I talk about synchronicity a lot. And so it was one evening where I had come home from a night out with my friends, and I actually lived with my friends during this time. And yes, we were on mushrooms, psychedelic psilocybin mushrooms. It was about 4 in the morning, and we turned on the TV because we needed some down-tempo time, some relaxation, take it down a notch time. We turned on the TV, and there's some rerun of an old sitcom. I don't even remember which one it was. It could have been Friends. But one of the characters on the show was wearing a brown, orange, and white ski jacket. And why that's significant is because a friend of ours, first of all, my friends and I, during this time, and actually now, till this day, have been sort of like a brotherhood. We just have like this relationship where we're a brotherhood. And one of our friends was still living in a different city at this time because we had moved from that city to this new city, and he was still back there. His name is Robert. And so on the TV, there's a character wearing a brown, orange, and white ski jacket. And that's significant because Robert, our friend, always wore that jacket. And it was from the 70s, and because he was kind of a raver, he went through this raver phase, and he was always wearing that jacket. And we always would make fun of him because it's a super gaudy jacket. It's just like not the kind of jacket you see people wearing around on the streets during our time or during this time. So we'd always make fun of him for that, and it was just really weird, I'd say beyond statistical probability, that we would see a character on TV wearing that jacket. Well, my friend Victor pointed it out, and he said, oh shit, he's like, that's Robert Dalby. And the character kind of looked like him too, just the way he was acting and his facial expressions and stuff like that, and he was wearing his jacket right at that exact time. We looked at the clock, and you know when you unplug your alarm clock and it resets to 12, sometimes it's another time or whatever. Well, anyway, it was reset to 12:08. So either it reset to 12:08 or it got reset at 12:08. Meaning like at 12:08 the power went out. It's either that, or for some reason the algorithm in that clock blinks 12:08 when it gets reset. I don't know, either way the clock was flashing 12:08. 12:08 was Robert Dalby's number, because we used to use pagers back in the day, and if you look at the number 1208, it spells Rob. So Rob's number and his calling card, and we all used to use pagers and everything like that, he would use 1208 as his calling card. And this happened in like a triple play. I haven't got to the third part yet, but it happened. Boom, we see the screen, the guy's wearing Robert Dalby's jacket. I just gave away his last name. And Victor points it out, I see it, and then we look at the clock, it flashes 12:08, then the phone rings. Who is it? It's him. It's Robert. And why that's so weird is that you gotta remember, it's like 4 in the morning. Why is he calling? This is before cell phones. I mean, people had cell phones during this time, but they weren't as a necessity as today. Like, these were like when flip phones were just starting to come out, and not even everybody had one. You could still get by without having a cell phone. And he called, and we asked, like, why are you calling? Why are you calling? Like, 1, it's 4 in the morning. 2, you have no idea what we're feeling and going through right now and what just happened with the alarm clock and the TV and everything. How can this happen in such a succinct fashion, just like boom, boom, boom? It was like a script. It was like every actor or something hitting their mark according to a script. And it just went off like a perfect sequence. And he didn't even have a clear answer as to why he called. He was just like, oh, I've been up, I can't sleep, so I thought of you guys. And that was amazing. And it made me understand that synchronicity is a real thing, and it's a clue into the workings of the universe. And we really are connected. We really are all connected, just like islands seem to be disconnected on the surface of the ocean, but beneath the surface, they're all connected by the same landmass. So it really gave me evidence of that. Now let's fast forward a few years. So a few years later, I'm in a bar with coworkers after work, and we're talking about synchronicity, and all of a sudden, there's this guy eavesdropping on our conversation. So he jumps in, and he starts talking to us about synchronicities and stuff like that. He claims that he went to Stanford or something, or Harvard, or one of those schools, like Ivy League schools, and that he's like a genius. He claimed that he is a genius, and he's been tested, and they said he's a genius. And then he was telling us how he disagrees with synchronicity, how he disagrees with that everything is connected, but he believes that everything's a lot more random than people think, and there's really not an implicate order in the universe, and he just thinks that everything's random. And he didn't believe what I was saying. So I started telling him this story about my friend Robert. I started telling him this story about how this happened, and that was an example of synchronicity. He still wasn't believing me, and as I ended the story, mind you, at this time, because I said this is a few years later, the night at the bar, I did have a cell phone. My phone rings, and guess who it is? Yes, it's Robert. And that made me look great. I wasn't trying to win an argument, because I don't argue with people. I just let them believe what they want to believe, and I don't really try to change their minds. But it was, I didn't have to argue with them. I didn't have to argue with them because the universe just proved it by itself. And if something is true, this is a David Icke quote, so I don't want to steal it from him, and I want to give him the credit for it. The truth, or actually no, this is an Alex Collier quote. But he claims that he got it from Morine or Phaseus, which is the Andromedan aliens that he had contact with. And he said that they said, or actually I don't remember, but anyway, Alex Collier said that the lie needs to be supported all the time and kept up and maintained, but the truth can stand on its own. So that's what happened. Synchronicity is definitely real, and it definitely happens to people. And I've talked to so many people who have shared their stories with me, and I know that it's real. It continues to happen. I mean, I have so many more stories, but that's one of the ones that stands out the most because it came back to appear again later on in life. So it's definitely significant. It's definitely beyond statistical probability because another video that I made, I talk about apophenia because, I mean, obviously patterns exist and people will find and see patterns in just about anything. However, there still is a thing called statistics, and if something happens, a pattern repeats itself, or it happens and it's beyond, if it falls on the tail end of the 5% spectrum of a normal distribution of probability, to me that's a synchronicity. And they do all kinds of statistical analysis for this kind of stuff. Like I said in that other video, the same one that I'm talking about, is that like you probably have the same birthday as someone if there's 50 people in a room. But I don't know. There's like more than one feature of synchronicity. I mean, like, why would you even talk to that person? Like, let's say you're in a room full of 50 people and you just happen to talk to that person. You happen to just something about that person that you happen to talk to them, and they happen to have the same birthday as you. Why did you talk to them instead of anyone else in the room? So if it's like a double play or something like that, to me, that is beyond probability, and it's probably a synchronicity. So you know it on the inside, on a gut level, on whether it is or it isn't. And I think that's one of the also barometers that you have to use to gauge whether or not you're having a synchronicity, or if this is just random chance, like whether something's just happening by random chance. So that is my personal experience with synchronicity. I have a lot more. That is just one of them. But I thought it was very significant when it happened both times.